of the various skills that each of the different participants in the briefing, designing, constructing and inhabiting of education buildings, and particularly performance-related buildings, is that actually we all understand a bit about what the other does, relevant when one's dealing with education buildings. Now, I know that Miles is going to talk a little bit about the governors and some of the stakeholders in education projects who aren't necessarily the most obvious ones that one might think of in design of buildings, but governors bring skill sets from their professional lives. They're not teachers, but bring all sorts of skills from other walks of life. And actually, one of the interesting things about having designers is that they don't just design education buildings, they design other types of buildings. And actually there are problem-solving skills that can be brought from other disciplines and brought to bear on school projects. And in doing so, gain the trust of those people who are entrusting you with that. Now, that's obviously a wonderful site, and one of the first questions we always ask ourselves as designers, what's the site like? And one of the others is, how much money have they got? What's the cost per square metre? Are we going to be able to get something that we know they want out of the money they have available? And actually that's one of the interesting things about being able to draw on the skills of the sort of people that we've heard talk already today, and we'll hear some more about, because actually Paul and Andy, they've done so many different types of projects that they know to the decimal place how much things cost per square metre, and those skills are very, very important to bring to bear on any project. Now, of course, there's also this wonderful issue of the added value. How does one make buildings do more than simply answer the brief? There's often talk of community use, for out-of-hours learning and use as well. There's also the fact of a performance space being able to earn its way as part of a business plan. When we did this project, this was for Parish Hall. Obviously it's working far harder than your average parish hall, and that was something that came about during not just the briefing process, but actually engaging with the licensing authority. When we were talking to the fire brigade about the fact that there was alcohol being sold up there, they said, look, it makes every sense in the world for you to extend your license into this space, because then you'll be able to serve alcohol down here, sell tickets, and so the space works a lot harder. And large performance spaces can also be integral parts of a school's business plan. There are interesting parallels between architecture and actually music and dramatic speech, because whilst we talk about buildings, actually in a number of instances, the thing which makes a building special isn't necessarily what goes on inside it, it's actually the spaces around it. It's the spaces between buildings and the way that building sits within any given context. Now, this is quite a daunting proposition. How does one build here? Now, particularly given that it was going to be seen from all sides, let's quickly whiz through some of these slides. This was a model we had prepared actually in order to help with fundraising. And one of the interesting things this illustrates is that whilst this is the recitable space, these two small buildings were absolutely critical to the overall project planning. There's a maintenance building here which is currently on this site here and needs to be relocated in order to house this one. Sports pavilion became part of the project as well, and therefore a new entrance road off of a very busy junction to make the whole thing work together. So it actually becomes more than just simply about the single part of the project, that it was perhaps the generator for it. Now, this was an existing shot looking across Cedars Field, and this one you're familiar with already. So one's talking about a large volume in a space around it. Now at Brighton, this is cricket pavilion. Sometimes buildings actually want to merge into their landscape and not necessarily be quite so forthright in their presence. Brighton College, I won't say too much because it's been said before, but there was a very clear ordering to start with, which became more cluttered over time. Others have spoken eloquently, but here are a couple of images you've not seen before, because this is actually about phasing. This is the existing condition, a bit of a jumble. The first phase is the music building and actually part of the dining hall and a new queuing system to allow the school to operate and for the dining hall to remain part and parcel of the daily life of the school. And we've seen a couple of images of the view from across the playing fields of just this building in place before this one came along. So actually, it's only later down the line when the science building, which is formerly here, gets relocated down here somewhere, but we're able to then have the second phase. And so these enabling works projects are absolutely critical in order that one can allow the final project to have, one, the dignity that it deserves, but two, also, this building will need to stand there and look like that's it until the other building's built, which is a difficult trick to pull off, actually. So this was the before shot of Christ College, and this will hopefully what will be there in a few years' time.